Hey everybody, this is Elliot with Modern Music Studio. I'm going to be running us through how to do a audiobook or kind of like a podcast edit and just kind of what we do to mix it down and get it ready for release or an upload to YouTube or whatever you're trying to do with it. So I'm just going to hop into it. This is an audiobook that my friend Jeremy recorded. It's a child's book and we're just going to get into it. So here's a little demo of what we're going to be working with.
And the Lady Next Door by Gene Zion. The party. Harry was a white dog with black spots.
So pretty straightforward. We're just talking, recorded in a booth. So we got a pretty good background noise. Nothing coming in that's too prevalent, and not too much that we have to kind of edit out of it, so to speak. But let's do it. So you'll notice right away I have two tracks. I have the audiobook and the ambience. Ambience is just a kind of background noise, so like a part of the recording where your artist isn't talking at all, and you're just recording what the mic is hearing in that room. And the reason you want that is there will be sections where you kind of have to like lengthen words or like add a little bit of space into words or a phrase just because maybe they were talking too fast or had to take a breath and you want to edit that breath out. You replace it with some of this ambience and it sounds more natural than just like complete dead silence, as if you were to cut out the actual clip itself. So if I were to cut that out, I would add this under it and kind of create like just like an edit that sounds really smooth, so to speak. But we'll get into that a little bit later. So first thing that I like to do when I'm mixing an audiobook or a podcast is I will go into my audio effects and I'm just going to choose a compressor. And the reason for my compressor is there are parts of the speech and performance where your artist might have like a full chest of breath, so he's going to be really loud starting off with. And then at the end of that phrase or whatever they're reading, they might lose a little more breath, so they're going to be talking a little bit quieter. And a compressor is just going to even those levels out. So instead of having something that's really loud and then quiet, it's just going to be a smooth, constant volume. And we're going to use a compressor to achieve that. So the first part is I'm going to find a section where it looks like we have kind of a lot of dynamic range, meaning high volume and low volume. And looking right here, I think this is a good spot to start. So I'm going to hit play and let's just listen to it really quick.
He loved all his neighbors.
So you can hear when he says he loved all, this all is pretty loud, and then the neigh of neighbors seems a little quiet to me. Let's try and hear that again.
He loved all his neighbors.
Especially that S gets really, really quiet. So with the compressor, we're just going to kind of find the middle ground of that signal. And with this one, you can actually see your volume right here. Oops, sorry. And let's just try and find that.
He loved all his neighbors.
So looking at this, I would just drop my threshold to about right there. Your threshold is just simply telling your compressor when to turn on. Any volume above your threshold, the compressor will turn on and start taking that volume down. So already I'm compressing it because I already have some settings set up. And let's hear it with the compression we have now.
He loved all his neighbors.
So you notice now that the neighbor part is pretty much the same volume as all. And I'll turn it off so we can get an A-B. Here is without the compressor.
He loved all his neighbors.
And here's with our compressor.
He loved all his neighbors.
And what's really happening here is the all is being turned down. We're actually not turning up the neighbors because the compression really just turns stuff down. You can use this output or a makeup to turn it up. But I don't really want to mess with that. I want to keep the signal as clean as I can. So right now, I'm just turning down the loud parts.
He loved all his neighbors.
And I think that sounds fine. I have a ratio of 4:1. That means for every 1 decibel or for every 4 decibels above our threshold, the compressor is only going to let 1 decibel through. So the higher you turn this up, the more compression is going to be applied to your track. I'm going to keep my attack super quick for this one, just meaning that pretty much right when the volume goes above our threshold, the compressor is going to turn on. The release I might actually bring up a little bit more, just because by having more of a release, that means the compressor is going to stay on a little bit longer once that volume dips below the threshold. If you have it be super quick, you're going to notice a change in volume a little too fast. So having a little higher release is just going to make it sound a little more natural. So keep that in mind. Dry wet, I'm going to keep at 100%. And I might go check some other spots in this recording just to make sure nothing's too loud in random spots. To hear this,
Everyone shouted, "Hooray!" The judge.
That one you can really tell we're taking a lot of volume out
When
of
she
it.
finished her song, everyone shouted, "Hooray!"
And you can see it in the compressor right here. We're taking a lot of the volume down. So there's a little quick tip on compression for your audiobooks or podcasts. And now I want to go into EQ. Going back to that spot that I was just listening to where he goes, "Hooray." Let's see if I can find it again. I kind of got lost. Maybe here.
The contest. A few nights after that, the family took Harry to the park.
I can't really find it off the top of my head. So EQ. Equalizers are just going to help us smooth out the sound even more. When you're recording just a dry vocal, you're going to be getting a lot of like low end, maybe like a pop if you don't have a pop filter, or just certain things that you don't really want in the recording. And an EQ is going to really help bring that stuff out of the recording. Excuse me. So the first thing is I'm going to throw a low cut band on my EQ, and I'm just going to cut out the lows. And what this will do is just take out any low like umps or bumps, or if the artist like tap their foot against the mic stand or something, it's just going to clean it up quite a bit.
Harry was a white dog with black spots.
Versus
Harry was a white dog with black spots. He loved all his neighbors. He loved all his neighbors, all except one. He loved all his neighbors.
And that kind of helped out quite a bit. So that's all I'm going to do with this EQ. I might add another one a little bit later, but the next thing I want to do is I actually want to add a de-esser. And what those are going to do is it's going to take any of the sibilants, like an S or a T, where it kind of just like pops out a little too loud in the recording, and it's just going to duck that down a bit for us. And one thing you can do to find that is when he uses an S, just look on a spectrum of some sort and see where that's landing.
He loved all his neighbors.
Right here is kind of where it looks like. It's like 4K, 400 or 4 kilohertz. And I'm going to go into Ableton and just find one. And we'll do this guy, just like a standard de-esser. And let's go over and find our...
He loved all his neighbors.
Get a little bit more.
He loved all his neighbors, all except one. He did not love the lady next door. He loved all his neighbors, all except one. He loved all his neighbors, all except one. He did not love the lady next door. He loved all his neighbors.
I don't really want that one on.
He loved all his neighbors, all except one. He did not love. He loved all his neighbors.
So that's sounding a little better. This de-esser is a little more complicated to understand. They do have like plugins or VSTs that are like really designed to just do de-essing. This is kind of a split band compressor, meaning you're choosing different frequencies to compress. So it gets a little complicated pretty quick, but if you can, I recommend just looking up like a free de-esser to mess with. They're going to be a little easier to work with than this guy. But we're going to keep that there for now. And now I'm actually going to throw on one more EQ. And this one I'm going to use to kind of boost some high end of his voice.
He loved all his neighbors, all except one. He did not love the lady.
And what I just did there is I gave his voice a little more clarity. He had kind of a lower voice, And I believe we recorded with an SM7B, which is like a super flat mic, and you kind of need a little more high end in it to make it sound a little more pronounced and defined. So if you find you need to work on some intelligibility of the vocal, of the words, try boosting some high end of it. I'm boosting quite a bit here, about 6 dB, around like 5K or so. It might help. It's worth looking into and trying. I also might cut just a little bit of lows around like 1K or something, just to hear what it sounds like.
He loved all his neighbors, all except one. He did not love the lady.
And kind of find like that muddy part of their voice.
He loved all his neighbors, all except one. He did not love the lady next door.
Probably something right there.
The lady next door sang. She sang high and loud. When she sang, Harry's ears hurt. She sang higher than the peanut whistle. When she sang, the peanut man put his hands over his ears.
I think that sounds fine. I'm going to actually back up this DS.
She sang louder than the siren on the fire engine. When she sang, the firemen put their hands over their ears.
So there's a little bit of some edits that I would do to or processing that I would do to the vocal itself. At that point, I would just go ahead and listen to it and see if there's any sections that you need to like take stuff out. So if he's taking a really big breath, something you can edit out of there.
Harry and the Lady Next Door by Gene Zion. The Party.
So right there, you can hear his voice his breath pretty well. You can choose to leave that, or you can cut it out. And remember my trick from earlier is you can take a sample of your just blank space and throw it in there for it.
Gene Zion. The Party.
To be honest though, I might just bring this a little closer. That space seems a little awkward to me.
By Gene Zion. The Party. Harry.
And let's turn this on so we actually hear it.
Gene Zion. The Party.
That's better.
Harry was a white dog with black spots. He loved all his neighbors, all except one. He did not love the lady next door. The lady next door.
It's another spot where I think we could use a little less of a breath. And let's bring it a little closer.
Loved the lady next door. The lady next door.
I think that sounds good. Always use fades when you're working with edits like this. You don't want any like unnecessary pops or clicks in the actual recording or your bounce.
Of the lady next door. Of the lady next door. The lady next door sang. She sang high and loud. When she sang, Harry's ears hurt. She sang higher than the peanut whistle. When she sang, the peanut man put his hands over his ears.
Now here's probably turning the page or something where we're probably going to want to bring that edit in a little closer. And of course, this is when you're going to want this. Throw that in there, our ambience. And let's see how that one sounds.
Hands over his ears. She sang louder than the siren on the fire engine. When she sang, the firemen put their hands over their ears. She sang.
Something like this we could probably fix too. Make it a little closer than it already is. Bring this in just a touch and make sure there's no space between these edits. And let's just listen to that one.
And put their hands over their ears. She sang higher and louder than the cats sang. When she sang, the cats ran away.
And that's quite of a big space there, so let's bring that back. And we'll zoom in and make sure we have no blank or like just dead silence.
The cats ran away. Harry tried everything to make.
And there's another good edit. So as you can see, there's quite a bit here. There's one there, one here, and a bunch here. Just like little spots where you're really going to want to be able to bring the words a little closer, whether they're flipping a page or taking a breath or just kind of reading ahead to make sure they're going to say everything right. So it is pretty important to keep one of these kind of ambient recordings there because you will be moving stuff around quite a bit and trying to get like a natural flow to it. That's pretty much all I'd have for editing any vocals on an audiobook or a podcast. If you really wanted to, you could try doing like a reverb on it to make it feel like it's in some sort of space or a room. I personally don't do that, but maybe you want that. So try it out, see if you like the reverb or not. But I think this is a good way to start editing, and it'll create something that you'll be able to be happy with from the start. So thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below, and we'll answer it right away. Thanks so much.